We want to look at one aspect of tables and figures. If you go back to your notes on your portal, on English for academic purposes, you will notice that chapter 4 talks about statistical reporting. Statistical reporting means that you will report using data. Now, when you are presented with data, we are the 200 babies in Area 15, and we have 300 mothers, and we have 500 old people, and we have 600 youths, and so on. Those figures are very, very intimidating. So what you want to do is to make those figures meaningful. So what you do is you transform the data, the figures, into either tables or charts. And you find that in many, many writings, people use tables and charts in order to communicate. So apart from the narrative that is there, they use tables and charts to communicate, and that is what chapter 4 is all about. So you better read that one. What I will be reading here, or what I will be looking at here, is an expanded version of that chapter. Maybe just to remind ourselves about communication. As we're saying, a statistical report serves to inform readers about experiments, research, data, interviews that lead to knowledge on a subject or a project. If you have been assigned to write some article, you will sometimes want to use some statistics in order to explain it. So that is part of communication. So writing a statistical report is part of the communication process. And in most cases, you communicate much, much better using some figure or using some table, because someone can visualize, someone can see what you are trying to communicate. Just to remind ourselves, there are three types of communication: verbal communication, written communication, and non-verbal communication. Now we are emphasizing much more on written communication using tables and figures. So let us start with the tables. Tables are essential for presenting numerical data in publications like newspapers, journals, articles, and so on. They are mainly used for storing and analyzing data, especially in research. But when you are presenting findings, it's also important to decide if a table is the best form of presenting what you want to do, or a graph. Why are tables important? Tables are important because they provide an effective way of communicating. They help reduce the need for lengthy explanations. For example, a table would surface where perhaps you would need a whole page to explain. Instead of writing a whole page, what you do is you just present a table, and then people will be able to get what you mean. There are three types of tables. There is what is called a demonstration table, a reference table, and a commentary table. A demonstration table or presentation table, that is the simplest table. It doesn't contain a lot of information, and it is usually used or designed to highlight key things that are important, that you want the reader to know. Or if I borrow my honorable colleague Dausi's English, to imbue. When you imbue or you imbibe, what does that mean in English? In simpler English? To internalize. Yeah. So they should be simple, concise, and well organized so that the reader can quickly absorb the information. So that is the demonstration tables. We have an example there of a demonstration table. People, which, or we should say who, people who children under 5 years like most. Now we have got fathers, acquaintances, mothers, other family, strangers. And in this figure, we can quickly, in this table, we can quickly notice there that children like who most? They like mothers because the percentage of mothers there is very high, 40%. This is followed by fathers, 32%. So if you want to summarize, you would say that which people do children like most? Parents. Because a father plus a mother equals parents. So they like parents most. It's very easy to notice that from a table like that, a demonstration table like that. What are the characteristics of a demonstration table? If you look at this demonstration table, you notice that it has limited data points, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right? So it has got a limited amount of data. This one has got 5, maybe you can have one with 10, something like that. But the number should not be overwhelming. That is 1. 2, the numbers should be rounded up. These are percentages, right? But supposing I say the fathers, well, 32.8. Have you ever seen a 0.8 of a father? Maybe there's a 0.8 of a father. But we know that fathers or mothers of people, they are whole figures, right? But when you were counting, right, because you are dividing against a certain denominator, you may have had some point something. So what you do is you round. So in a demonstration table, you round up things, right? It's easier to remember rounded up figures. The other point to remember is that a figure like this one doesn't tell any story. On its own. So what you need to do is, given this figure, because there are various ways in which people can interpret, you don't want people to interpret it the way they want. You want people to appreciate or interpret it the way you want. So that is very important. A lot of students make a mistake of just putting a table like that, and they think, well, I've done my work. No. Each table, each figure, it has to be accompanied by textual explanation. You have to explain what you mean. Before I go to textual explanation, a table should have a title. If I remove this title here, right, you won't know what this is all about. So it is important that you have a title so that your reader knows what your table is all about. So it's very important that you should have a title. And your title that you have should be descriptive. What is it that you want the reader to appreciate? Apart from the title, the columns in your table should also be labeled, both horizontal and vertical columns. So, in your horizontal columns there, you have the labels, a relationship with charge, and the percentages. So we know that, well, these variables here represent relationship with charge. And these uh, amounts here, or these percentages, represent the degree of that relationship according to the title. Then on the vertical column there, you have the variables: the father, acquaintance, mother, other family members, and strangers. Now, you will notice that this table, we have labeled it as 1.1. What 1.1 means is that this is table number 1 in chapter 1. So if you have got tables, let's say 5 tables in chapter 1, then there will be 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, up to 1.5. In chapter 2, if you have got some tables again, then there will be 2.1, 2.2, so on. That is the American Psychological Association way of referencing. Why do we put 1.1, 2.1, 3.1? Who can guess why? Why not just say 1, 2, 3 according to the way they appear? Why say, okay, those in chapter 1, they should be 1.1, 1.2, and so on. Those in chapter 2, 2.1, 2. And so on. In chapter 3, 3.1, and so on. Why not just label from the first one that appears, 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on? The answer is simple. You want to guide the reader. If the reader is reading your table of contents, there is figure 1.1, and they are interested in 1 point in that figure, right? They will know where exactly to find it. Otherwise, if you don't do it like that, then they will be fumbling. Where will they find figure number 5? It might be maybe in chapter 4. But if you mention the chapter there, the first digit 1 talks about the chapter where you find that table. Then the subsequent digit talks about the number of tables in that chapter. So we said that finally you need to contextualize, to write something, right? So when you are contextualizing, right, we said that in the Holy Bible there are 10 commandments. But we equally said that in the academic essay writing, there are 3 commandments. Without those 3 commandments, you can't go through the narrow academic door. What are those 3 commandments in academic writing? So none of you can go to academic heaven. You want to go to academic hell? Three commandments. Sorry? No. Introduction, body, conclusion. If you write an essay like that one, then your road to academic heaven is open. So, an example.